Very good. Good morning, good morning. Well, hope everyone is having a great morning. And we are so excited because today we have New
我
Mexico.
们非常高兴啊，祝大家那个早晨愉快。
Oh, actually, let me talk about the interpreters. So yes, very exciting that this morning we're going to have interpreting in 3 languages. So that's why the delay. So I apologize for that. So once we press start, what we're going to do is everyone's going to choose the globe on the bottom. Can everyone see that? There's a globe icon from Zoom, and you're going to choose the languages as soon as I press start. But before that, it's not available quite yet because all the different languages will explain the same information. So thank you so much for your patience. Vietnamese, do you want to start? Korean? And Chinese.
喂，大家好，非常高兴大家可以参与今天的会议。一会儿会议开始的时候的话呢，下面也会有出现一个地球仪，麻烦大家点击一下这个地球仪，选择您所喜欢的频道。这样的话呢，您就可以听您的语言进行翻译的会议议程。谢谢。
Okay, so if everyone can go the language you chose.
好，下面请大家选择您所喜欢的语言。
One second. Sophia, can you help me?
Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can hear
Yes,
you.
I can hear you.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm having issues with my camera, so I'm gonna log off and so you can let me in again, okay? Thank you.
Okay, and just a reminder, if you want to go to English, there's an icon on the bottom that shows like a globe, and you would choose the English interpreting.
A globe. Okay.
Yes. And I apologize
yes.
for trying to learn how to do this. Okie dokie. So without further ado, I think we're ready to have Caitlin from New Mexico Tax and Rev, Agent O, speak and explain to everyone about taxable transaction certificates. It's complicated. I'm sure people have lots of questions around it, and that's why you're here. I'm sure there's been lots of questions in the past of like, how do I not pay taxes for that? How do I get the certificate? How does this impact my business? So this is why we have this workshop here this morning. So I will let Caitlin take the floor.
Okay. Hi, my name is Caitlin. As she said, that I am a revenue agent,
你好，
and I do deal mainly with the non-taxable transactions. So what I'm going to do is share the PowerPoint, and we'll start this.
好，你好，这位是 Miss Caitlin。下面的话呢，我们是做
Okay. Can you all see it or
We're
PowerPoint?
seeing the presentation mode. We're not seeing the presentation mode. We're seeing like the slides on the side.
Oh, okay. That's when I tell you I'm not great at this. Nope.
Caitlin, if you just go to slideshow, your tab up on the top, if you look at the tab, there's a bunch of tabs right above it to your left, and it says home. There you go. Go to your slideshow,
Got it.
and then from beginning, and then that'll remove those side slides for you.
Got it. Okay. Sorry about that.
Perfect.
All right. So today we're going to talk about non-taxable transaction certificates or
好，今天我们呢主要是
NTTCs.
谈一下这个非应税交易证书。
So we're going to talk about basically the mission and the vision, applying for a business tax ID identification number or BTIN, also the non-taxable transaction certificates or NTTCs.
所以今天我们主要是谈一下这个非应税交易证书了。这个主要是一
Okay. Come on. So basically, for the mission and the vision, the communication, we will ensure timely, thoughtful, and
所以对于我们的这个审计和
efficient connections with our customers and each other. Promote respectful, meaningful exchanges and ideas. Demonstrate transparency throughout open communication. And we also are our plan is to enhance customer experience and customer service. We do a free publication that gives a more detailed explanation of certain issues. All FYIs are on our website, which is on the screen, which is www.tax.newmexico.gov. By clicking on the forms and publications, and this is going way fast. You can find all the forms that pertain to, or all the FYIs that pertain to what you're looking for in business registration, NTTCs, and any other of our
好，今
statutes.
天我们呢是讲一下这个
So, trying to let this go a little slower. So when applying for a New Mexico applying for a New Mexico business tax identification number or a B10, the requirements are, if you are going to do a LLC or anything not as a sole prop, you will need an FEIN number. We do need a physical address, but you can use your PO box for your mailing address, not your location. The best way to do registration is on our Taxpayer Access Point or TAP. It is quicker and you will receive it the same day instead of sending in a paper. If you have any issues on TAP, you can make an appointment and come into the office, and our customer service representatives will do the registration for you. So we are not going to talk about the non-taxable transaction certificates. Once you're registered with with your B10, after the starting date, you can apply for non-taxable transactions. Now, non-taxable transactions issued by the buyer, leaser to the seller or lessor for non-taxable purposes or lease of material and or services. Buyers, leasers do not pay gross receipt taxes on the purchases, creates and deductions for the seller leaser, and executes online on tap only and printed if necessary. The types of NTTCs is dependent on the NAICS code entered when applying for a B10 number. This example only qualifies for type 5. So here is, you will put your code in. If you have a secondary code, you'll put it in. And we prefer that you do put in a brief description of what the business is. To apply for NTTCs on tap, you'll be going through the steps, which is step 1, under your GRT account, click on more account options. Number 2, click on view NTTC options. Number 3, if this is your first time requesting NTTCs, you will have to request an authorization first. And number 4, if you already have an authorization in place, click on the buyer certificate tab and follow the on-screen instructions to execute an NTTC. So the NTT types, most common NTTCs are the type 2s, which are purchase of tangible for resale. Type 5, purchases of services for resale. And type 6 for construction, contractors, materials, and services. And also type 9 for tangible purchases by a nonprofit, 501c3, and a government agency. And on the next slide, you'll have basically examples of what each, like type 2 will get. Type 2 is going to be your most common for retail. So type 2 mainly is for the individual for retail to be able to go to their wholesalers and not have to pay the taxes on them, on any of the deliveries or any of the product.
And Caitlin, this is the whole list of all the deductions that are covered under the type 2 NTTC. So this is a good slide to reference in the future if you're wondering if any of the deduction types may apply to you. This is all the statutes under the single type 2 type.
which is one that we most commonly approve and will be most commonly approved right away. The next slide is for type 5s, which most will receive. Not all retail or restaurants will receive them, but these are the examples of all the type 5s. And then the next slide is for type 6s, which are for contractors for construction. And then the next slide will be for type 9s and type 10s and 11s. More than likely, if you are a nonprofit organization, you will be applying for a type 9. And then you have the next slide is you have your type 12s, 15s, 16s, and 18s. Usually, you'll need more like paperwork to get these. So our most common ones are, like I said, type 2, type 5, and type 6.
Caitlin, I just wanted to add, depending on the type of NTTC that you're requesting, we can usually types 1 through 9 can be approved relatively fast, meaning we can turn around that request pretty quickly. It's anything above 9 that might require a higher level of approval. And so those types might take maybe an extra 24 to 48 hours. So I just wanted to just point out that as we receive these, we do try to process them relatively fast within 24 hours, especially those lower NTTCs. But as you can see, we have at least 18 types. And so it just really depends on what kind of certificate that you're looking for, but there is an approval process involved, so that might factor into your request. So if you're looking for something relatively quick, just give yourself some time when you're submitting those requests to ensure that we have enough time on the TRD side to approve and get those taken care of for you as quickly as we can. Thank you, Caitlin.
You're welcome. Thank you. So the next slide basically explains, like she said, the different types that have additional requirement, like the type 10 is available to persons that hold an interest in a qualified generating facility. And then type 11 is consumable products used by manufacturing, processing, or process, pardon me. Type 12 is utilities used in manufacturing process. 15 for tangible purchase by qualified federal contractors. And for type 16 for qualified film production companies, materials, and services. And they will need proof of registration with the film division. The last one is out-of-state buyer certificate. It's, I believe now, available online, or you can contact any of the district offices that we have. So, and a little bit more about the OSBs or out-of-state buyers certificates. They are issued to registered New Mexico sellers, lessors to execute to out-of-state buyers who are not registered with the department. For tangible purchases in state will be resold outside of New Mexico. Not a lot of the time are you going to need the out-of-state buyer certificate. We rarely see those.
Caitlin, if you want, I'll go ahead and take over starting at the penalty and interest slide if you'll drive for me.
Sure can.
All right, everybody. I'm the Public Information Officer or Director of Communications here at the Taxation and Revenue Department. I'm going to be covering the rest of the slides. We're not necessarily going over the non-taxable transaction certificates, but we're going to be going over some administrative things that we do at the department, and it's really great information for individuals to know. So this particular slide is talking about penalty and interest. And this is something that if you don't pay your taxes on time, you're going to see penalty and interest build up on your account. Gross receipts tax, it's one of those ones that if you don't pay by the 25th of the month that your return is due, there's a $5 minimum penalty. So we just wanted to make sure that we cover that in this slide. I do want to just mention that we will be providing these slides to you. I did provide them to the organizer, and you guys will be getting a copy of these as well as the FYI 204. The FYI 204 specifically goes over non-taxable transaction certificates. Next slide, Keela. Thank you. So this is our compliance continuum, and we like to share this when we're giving presentations, mainly because this is kind of how we function when it comes to state government. The more that we're able to do outreach and the more that we're able to have YouTube videos or those sorts that we can give guidance to taxpayers, and the more voluntary compliance there is, the less risk and expense there is for the administration and the department. You can see here that we kind of go from education to processing of returns, and then our compliance campaigns, which are when we're looking at the data that we have, and there may be an audit that results from that, which is the next step. Once an audit is completed, if there hasn't been payment, we go into our collection stages. And if there's any discrepancies or disagreements between us and the taxpayer, we may go to litigation. And there is possibilities at some point that we will see fraud cases where there's individuals who are not paying the taxes that are due to the state, and maybe they've been doing it for a long time and they don't want to pay it, and we have to take those steps. So what happens if I fall out of compliance? We do have this thing called a managed audit, and in my opinion, it's really terrific because it allows for us as the department to allow for there to be training. We can talk to an individual taxpayer about the services that they provide, about what they sell, what tangible personal property they sell, and we can go over our statutes and our regulations and determine what the taxability is for a certain time frame. So the department will anonymously discuss with you and your representative whether the individual situation meets the managed audit eligibility requirements. One of the nice things about this is if we are able to get into a managed audit agreement with you and that managed audit takes place, once it's complete, penalty is waived and interest is waived if you pay the liability within 180 days from the audit close date. So we do often recommend this as an alternative to a regular audit. We did provide the information here where you can apply on tap or an email if you would like to reach out to that specific unit to see if you're eligible. We also have a website that's shown there and an FYI 404, which goes over more of the information on a managed audit. So we did want to take this opportunity to talk to you guys about marketplace sales, because we know that a lot of businesses are using a marketplace facilitator such as Amazon or eBay. So in these instances, there is a deduction that's available to the seller if the marketplace facilitator is paying the gross receipts tax on your behalf. In this specific instance, it's not actually an NTTC that's required. It's documentation from the marketplace facilitator saying that they are collecting and submitting gross receipts tax on your behalf. So we wanted to make sure that that's covered here because an NTTC is not required. So kind of go over the definitions. A marketplace facilitator is a business or organization that contracts with third parties to sell goods and services on its platform and facilitates retail sales. Marketplace facilitators enable these sales by listing the products, taking the payment, collecting receipts, and in some cases, assisting in shipment. A marketplace provider is defined as any person who facilitates a retail sale by a retailer by 1, listing or advertising sales by the retailer, and 2, collecting payment from the retailer's customers and transmitting those payments to the retailer. You're a marketplace seller if you make retail sales through either a physical or electronic marketplace operated by a marketplace facilitator. So marketplace sales. A marketplace seller may deduct receipts from sales, leases, and licenses of tangible personal property, sales of licenses, and sale of services or licenses for use of real property that are collected and paid by a marketplace provider. The requirement, the marketplace seller must obtain documentation from the marketplace provider indicating that the marketplace provider is registered with the department and has remitted or will remit the taxes due on the gross receipts from those transactions. So as a reminder, if that is something that fits your scenario, you're selling on eBay, you're selling on Amazon, and you have that statement from those organizations, there is a deduction. You still have to report your receipts, but you're eligible for a deduction. And it's not required to be separately reported, so you'll just need to keep track of those sales on your own. So here we're going to talk about record keeping. It is recommended that you keep all your tax records for 7 to 10 years. Audits can go back that far. So we do have a few more slides about the managed audit here, but we did go over that earlier. So it does talk about the 180 days for the penalty and interest here as well. And it does talk about the qualifying taxpayers that can come into compliance with tax programs subject to the Tax Administration Act, such as personal income tax, gross receipts tax, corporate income tax, withholding, and compensating tax. So some of the things that go with the managed audits is acceptance into the managed audit program is not automatic. You must apply and meet certain eligibility requirements. Some of those requirements are you have not already been selected for an audit. You're not currently being pursued for collections. You demonstrates a willingness and ability to comply with New Mexico's tax law. You're demonstrating an acceptable system of internal control and records, and you have not been subject to a criminal investigation. Resources are available to conduct the managed audit. You're not already in a legal dispute with the department over the taxability of the transactions that are subject to the managed audit. The managed audit does not apply to existing liabilities. The taxpayer outstanding liability was paid in full prior to requesting a managed audit agreement. And then we're going over how to apply for a managed audit again. As I noted, we will be providing you guys with the slides, so you guys will be able to use these for your reference if this is the route that you would like to go. And we want to thank you guys for inviting us for this presentation and for letting us speak. But we do want to open up the floor to questions. We have a few staff members here. Maybe those that are on the line can just introduce themselves. That's the way individuals know who might be answering their question. Again, I'm Bobby Marquez. I'm the Director of Communications. Tiffany, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Tiffany Smith. I'm the Deputy Director of Audit and Compliance over Compliance.
Thank you. I see we have Santiago on the line. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Santiago Chavez, Director of Audit and Compliance.
Fantastic. And Bernadette, I did see that you're on the line as well.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Bernadette Torres. I'm a supervisor. I'm a revenue agent supervisor in collections. And Miss Caitlin is in my unit. Thank you.
And you all got to meet Miss Caitlin because she did the first half of the presentation. So I do want to open up the floor to any questions that we might have from somebody. I'll go ahead and check out the chat. Well, if there's anybody that wants to speak up in the meantime, feel free.
So I can read the first question that I'm seeing in the chat. It says, what type of NTTC is needed for buying food for childcare? So I think we probably need more information on what the transaction type is and the details there, because the deductions are really fact dependent. So is the childcare company a nonprofit, perhaps? Are we buying prepared foods, or are we buying, regular foods that are already tax-free at retail? So hard to determine without additional details. But
this is for profit. This is for profit. Just the food that is bought to feed the children.
So
at Costco, Walmart.
So they're a for-profit company.
Yes.
When they're buying food at retail, it already is not taxable. The sale of food products are not taxable, so that they should already be covered, just like any other individual purchasing food at retail is not taxable. If somebody is selling like a food that's already like I guess I'm thinking of ones that are not deductible, like food to eat at a restaurant, like a prepared food. Potentially, if they were a nonprofit, they could purchase those foods with a non-taxable transaction certificate. But the sale of items that are not going to be resold aren't necessarily covered under a deduction. So I'm not quite sure if they're paying tax at retail for food, but no one should be paying food at retail or paying tax at retail.
So two of them to keep in mind for businesses in general, which most businesses are going to qualify, is the type 2, which is a purchases of tangibles for resale. This is the one Tiffany is talking about. But in order to take this deduction when you're purchasing something, you have to resell it. So if you're not actually reselling it, maybe it's just absorbed into what you're doing and it's kind of like part of that sale and it's not actually being resold separately, you don't actually qualify to purchase it tax-free. And then the other is a type 5, which is purchases of services for resale. And this is the same kind of qualifier here. In order to purchase something tax-free for resale, you yourself have to sell it and it has to be taxable at that sale.
So that for the second part of that question, cleaning products for a commercial cleaning company. So unless they are reselling that product at retail, then you wouldn't be able to use a type 2 deduction there, because if they're just using the product in their service, that wouldn't qualify for a deduction, and therefore there's not an NTTC to cover that transaction.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am seeing another question here. It says one of the vendors was asking NTTC for pharmacy training, what NTTC needs for retail pharmacy. I'm not sure I fully understand that question. But again, we're kind of going back to the type 2 and the type 5. In order for you to purchase something non-taxable, whatever it is that you're selling has to be taxable, and it can't change what it is. So like an example of purchases of services for resale, because we're kind of talking about training there. The only way that you would be able to purchase that non-taxable would be if you were reselling that pharmacy training to somebody else. That's the only way the type 5 would be allowed.
I'm wondering if we could share like showing where on our website to go to forms and publications to get FYI 105 and FYI 204, because those are going to be really good resources. FYI 105 describes all the deductions that you're eligible for. So when a non-taxable transaction certificate isn't what makes the transaction deductible, it's really what you use to show that you have a specific deduction type. But the description of all the deductions that are available are in FYI 105, and they start on page 13, and you can see them all listed there. The great thing about that FYI is you could search by keyword. So if you are, in a certain industry, then you can kind of see, does this come up anywhere to determine if anything that I do might be non-taxable or might be deductible.
So if you go onto our TAP website and then you go into the bottom of the page, it will say forms and publications. You can, once you get into there, there is a search bar where you can put the publication of what you're looking for, like the 105, 104, 204, any of our publication FYIs, and it should pull it up.
There you go. Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank
see
you.
here, she went to forms and publications, and then publications and FYIs. And then right here under the 100 series, the FYI 105 is a really excellent resource, the gross receipts and compensating tax overview. And then you can see starting on page 13 of this document that all of the deductions allowable start obviously exemptions are great too if you qualify for exemptions, but here's all the deductions that are gonna be pertain to you, and you can kind of see the list of deductions actually starting on page 15, and it goes through, agricultural deductions, border trade support, aircraft deductions, childcare services. So there's specific types of areas and industries that may have deductions. So I think that's really helpful. Let's see, Gilberto, sorry. Aerospace company. Resale.
So just to recap, as Tiffany is reviewing the current question in the chat, I'm sorry, guys, I was trying. So you can just do a simple Google search, or the the website is www.tax.nm.gov. And as we explained, you can go to the top and there is what is called forms and publications. You'll click on forms and publications. And then as you can see, there is a little bank of just great resources where we really try to streamline a lot of the main tax programs that we have and a lot of the frequently asked questions that we get, but specifically under publications, your FYIs are really kind of I use them as like quick references. We deal with different tax programs throughout the day, so it's really helpful to be able to jump right in and look for something very quickly versus trying to, navigate the internet and try to track this information down. So we break these down into different series types so that we can really condense the information for you. As we've explained throughout the training, we will give you guys access to this information. We have a couple of publications directly for you, the FYIs. And then, of course, just being able to access the website on your own and being able to kind of navigate through this. Hopefully I hope that gave you enough time, Miss Tiffany, to review the question, because I could see it was like a 3-part question. So turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I actually read through the question as well. He's talking about an aerospace company, which is pretty specific and it's new. So I'm actually recommending to him that he reach out to our policy office, because it'll be a little bit easier for him for that specific industry to be able to explain the transactions to them, and then they'll be able to assist him in determining the best route to go.
Yep, and there's specific deduction types for the equipment used in manufacturing. So what we would want to just help get you the information needed to qualify for that NTTC type specifically for that industry. So that's a great place to check first is policy.
If you guys don't mind me adding, I just recently changed, added to my codes, and I went through this process. So I appreciate you guys doing this because I had to fumble through all of this just on my own. But once figuring it out and figuring out what I wanted to change my codes to, I will say that once I submitted the information, you guys did get back to me within 24 to 48 hours. You corrected you told me what I needed to correct. I made the corrections and then resubmitted. The process went fairly well. I just wanted to say like you guys are doing a good job on that end. Because I just changed mine 2 months ago. And again, I had to fumble through it, but this information is very helpful. So if you follow what kind of the direction that they're laying out for you, I was actually communicating directly with a person. They were getting back to me in a timely manner and helping me get the right code that I needed for what I wanted to do corrected. I even made a phone call and someone helped me over the phone actually, and she told me the steps I need to do. So I just want to say that this process works because I had to do it on my own, and the information they're providing actually helps walk you through the process. So there's some stumbling blocks, but overall it worked out really well, and it was actually adjusted within my account in a short period of time because I could go in and check and see when the updates were happening. So if you're making these changes, send in the information and then just check in your own account, and it will tell you when it's updated as time goes on. I just want to share that with you guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much,
the feedback.
Ken. All of us, we needed to all speak at the same time because we were so excited that somebody was happy about us.
And I would
wa-
say, you know, one thing that is going to help assist in this whole process is having a TAP account. So the Taxpayer Access Point is your online portal to the system. So using your TAP account, keeping your account most up to date with your correct NAICS codes or NAICS codes. So that's the industry code that you're involved in. So if you add a retail aspect or you add a sales or a service aspect, you know, keep your NAICS codes most up to date. And then, you know, as long as you're submitting in the system, we're tracking all your authorizations, your requests, anything that you execute is all tied to your account. So, you know, the more that you can be proactive in keeping your account up to date and managing your account, the easier the process will be once you know the NTTC type that you need. That's going to be the easiest way to keep us up to date and help us help you manage your process.
Yeah, and I do just want to share that in the chat, I went ahead and shared the actual NAICS website. A lot of people assume that those are issued by the state of New Mexico, and they're not. It's actually the United States Census Bureau that creates those codes. So I went ahead and shared that in the chat so you guys could take a look if you're not quite sure where you fit into those codes. And then I also shared a link to our TAP, which is our Taxpayer Access Point.
I'd like to also add that also what helps us determine, including your NICS code, is also a description of what the business is. It helps us really kind of look at, is this the correct one? If we do have the business description, which you can put when you do request authorization, there is a place you can put it. It does help if you did forget to put a description in your initial registration.
Thank you, Caitlin. I also wanted to just jump in and thank Ken for his feedback. We have another process that we're running into some complications with the city, so love to reach out and talk to you about it, Ken. I'll drop my email address in the chat and maybe we can connect.
Uh-oh.
No, it's good. I think it's
No, go ahead.
it's much it's all about efficiency. It's much ado about nothing. I think it's just a common sense thing, but we just got to get the message to the right person at the city.
You got it, brother.
All right, thanks.
I do want to share our website in the chat, and I do want to mention specifically the top area where we have our social media accounts. I'm trying really hard to get that information up to date, and I'm hoping to soon add an NTTC specific on our YouTube channel. So I'll go ahead and share that link as well. There are some good videos there. Some of them are a little outdated, and I'm working on getting them updated. But in the meantime, there's really great information on there for individuals if they just kind of need an overview of something, if they're starting out a business. It does have some really great information, and it's available 24/7, which is awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know if there's any additional questions for the New Mexico Tax and Rev team. I think it's been really helpful. I really appreciate answering all the questions. I heard somebody having a question about city issues, and just as a reminder, actually today at 11, there's going to be a workshop about how to do business with the city of Albuquerque. So there's another opportunity there for those that want to join. I'll put it in the chat in just a minute. So thank you everyone for your patience as we've been trying to figure out the interpreting, in the different rooms. Thank you so much, Tax and Rev. Now you have this in Korean, Vietnamese, and Mandarin, which is like really spectacular. And thank you, Caitlin and Bobby, for helping me coordinate all of this, and Tiffany for joining us, and everyone else from the team. I don't know if there's any last minute questions from the participants or anything New Mexico Tax and Rev wants to share.
Gabriella, will you be able to send out the presentation in the FYI 204?
Correct. Yes. So for everyone that registered here, we will be sending the presentation from this morning and the additional document to the group.
Sounds great. I just wanted to remind people in that presentation doc, we do have emails for specific issues that you can reach out to as well. So that'll be a great starting point if you need to reach out to us.
Right. Well, very good. Well, if that's it, we are very grateful for your time, and I will hope to see you all soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.